Hi everyone, my name's Ian King and I have the pleasure of leading Restore Community Church in London, England. We're just in the northeastern part of London. How has the latest virus and the world situation impacted us? Well, bizarrely, in some really quite beneficial ways, if that's not a strange thing to say. For us, we've been really praying over how we can multiply leaders, how we can become more missional, and how we can multiply expressions of church. And we were already planning on planting one new congregation this year and also bringing another existing congregation into the Restore family of churches. Because of the virus, we've had to stop, as in most parts of the world I think, gathering on a Sunday, and we've had to digitalise and go online. For us, it was really interesting timing because we had literally just moved over to a new website that does have the ability to live stream. And so we'd kind of set everything up, but we hadn't really put enough energy into it to get it up and running. So obviously once the current situation hit, we put all of our energy into live streaming and actually getting ourselves to the place that we could do that. And for us, we've had to learn lots of things, but it's going really, really well. And what has been good is our reach has increased. And not only locally has our reach increased in terms of people from the local community joining us as well, but also people that used to be a part of Restore who's now moved into other parts of the UK, and all of our, or many of our missionaries are starting to connect as well. So we have a much greater sense of oneness and a wider reach. And as a church, we were meeting in 3 existing expressions on a Sunday morning. It really feels like we've come together as one team and one family, and that's been really beneficial. And we're aware that we're probably not going to be able to quickly go back to meeting in the old congregations on a Sunday morning, particularly the restrictions around social distancing in the UK and the numbers of people able to gather means that we're probably going to have to gather in smaller groups. So our whole aim of making smaller groupings of missional congregations feels like it's more of a reality. So as a leadership team, we're really praying over that, and I'd appreciate your prayers for us on that in terms of knowing what could that look like this year. Obviously, the other thing that we've put a lot of energy into, as many of you will have as well, is how we impact our local community. And one of our local leaders had the idea of setting up a mutual support group in Loughton, which is our immediate town here. And that really took off. So they set it up as a mutual support group on Facebook, but it took up and has got nearly 2,000 members locally. And now we've got people from the local community covering their neighbours in every part of our local towns. The town's about 31,000 people, and we've got little groupings that cover 4 or 5 streets right the way across the town, and they're supporting people in terms of shopping, picking up prescriptions and all of that kind of thing. What's been really interesting in that is obviously it is a church-led thing, but we've had a huge amount of community buy-in. So we've got a lot of our non-Christian or not yet Christian neighbours that have joined our group and that are now a part of us, working alongside, shoulder to shoulder, as we express love and serve our local community. And part of what's interesting out of that is just seeing the relationships and the friendships that are being built out of that. And what I'm really excited about that is it's not so much from a Christian kind of we're here and you're down there and we're giving something to you, but it's much more mutual and shoulder to shoulder. And certainly for me, I lead our local one, and I've got to know a number of local neighbours that I wouldn't have known previously. And so there's obviously lots of opportunity out of that to create relationship into the future once we can actually physically gather and meet in the same space. And so we're praying that we can multiply that across our region. As far as other churches are concerned in London, I think many churches seem to be doing really well. They managed to get online and they've had a good take-up. And I think it is starting to make people think a bit more missional, which I think is the God opportunity in it all. We'd really appreciate your prayers for wisdom in terms of knowing how to structure the next stages to be able to facilitate what I think God's wanting to do in terms of multiplication. and a strategy for that. We're praying that we don't lose any person to the COVID-19 crisis in the family of Restore, and we're pleased to say that we haven't done so far, and so we're praying protection over us. We'd obviously appreciate that. I guess we're all praying that over our local churches as well, and I'm really praying that it will be something that causes what is quite an independent, self-sufficient, busy city like London to recognise our vulnerability and our need, and maybe out of that to see a significant move of God. Really encouraging to hear some of the stories of what's happening around the world. I hope you've enjoyed hearing just a little bit about what's happening in London, England.